Well, hello and good evening, and we're having some white tonight. This is an Australian Chardonnay from Leeuwin Estates. It's a 2017, I believe, Margaret River Chardonnay. We spoke about Leeuwin before when we had I think we had a Cabernet bottle. It's all the way sort of in the southwest of Australia. It's called the Margaret River Valley. It's just a beautiful place. We've been there and we just talked about this a little bit. If you want to watch the Cabernet video, it's just, basically you really feel you're at the end of the world over there, right there on the edge of the Indian Ocean. And it's wild. It's a wild nature area. It's just beautiful. It's all basically ocean and you're right there, you're very close. And these guys, this family that owned this, I think the Horgan family, they had a horse farm up until the 70s. And then in the 70s, they decided, with the help and inspiration from Robert Mondavi, who visited and thought it would be an incredible place to grow grapes and to make wine, they turned it into a winery. And Leeuwin Estates is basically one of, I would say, a handful of top flagship wineries in Australia, particularly their prime label, which is the Artist Series, it's called. So the Artist Series Chardonnay, every year it's a label made by a different contemporary Australian artist. So the Artist Series Chardonnay is really the top of the top. It's a wine that gets rated in the high 90s every year. Price, way up between 80 to $100. I mean, it's worth it. It's really very, very high quality wine. I've had it a few times. And the label, the Prelude series, which is what this is, also a pretty artsy label. They make, I think, some Shiraz, some Cabernet, which we had, and some Chardonnay. It tends to be more for kind of sooner consumption. It's more affordable, it's more approachable. It's all very good. And this is sort of what we're having today. This is just, if we look at the color here, I don't know if you can see, it's almost see-through. It's just so pale, so light. It's got that sort of, it's more in the sharp yellow, in terms of really light yellow, as opposed to gold. And it's very clear. It's not a very alcoholic wine. I think it's 13%. And it's really just superbly kind of, sharp, I think, from a color point of view. On the nose, you get a lot of the things you get with a nice Chardonnay. You get a little bit that citrusy, note, a little bit of the vanilla, some green apple. Some people talk about some bread yeast. I don't really get that, but it could be hidden under the acidity. It's just it's a little bit of floral also. So it's an interesting mix. It's not, it's not as big as like a California oaky Chardonnay, but you can definitely feel the oakiness, some of the secondary notes in the oak, but not as much. So it's a little bit of a lighter touch, but it's not what I would think like a purely crystal clear Chablis, like tank raised, from Burgundy or something. So it's a very interesting middle of the road on the nose, at least, and it's got both the fruit and the floral notes. It's just really acidity comes up a lot more now on the tongue, and the sort of the green apple component comes out even more. It's really an interesting, very interesting mix of the flowers, in the nose, and the green apple, and sort of a little bit of mouth puckering green apple thing, and the acidity in the mouth, which is really makes it, again, with the acidity, very good, with food. It's a very nice, sharp acidity. It would go with anything you want, basically, whether it's cheese or some sort of vegetable dish or fish, even if it's a fatty fish. It doesn't have to be just very, delicate fish. Very balanced. A little bit of the mineral, finish. You get that minerality really on the finish, kind of a little bit of an almost like you have some steel, cold steel, in your mouth. And it's kind of an interesting feel because I'm not quite sure whether that is a feature or a bug, if you want. I don't mind it. I think it's just something that just showed up. And again, I think with more, as it evolves and with more air, it's not something that you're going to notice. And it's just really, I think, because of the minerality of the wine, which is another feature I would add to it. So net, it's a great, really middle of the range Chardonnay. It's really, it's delicious. It's not super expensive, so you don't have to feel that you have to kind of have this really crazy epiphany with it. But it's really very good, and it will, go with many a table, many a dish, and even as an appetizer or a drink, a cool drink in the afternoon. And again, it just comes from this really amazing place. So you have to add a little bit of that into the story when you're enjoying it, and thinking about that a little bit. Okay, cheers, and we see each other again soon.